This is the new 2025 Mercedes-Maybach S680, and it's special. Every Maybach is special, but this one has been customized by Manufaktur, which is Mercedes' exclusive personalization division, and it has over $40,000 in options, including this crazy color. It also has a V12 and a rear seat luxury experience like you've never seen before. Today, I'm going to review this Maybach S680 and show you all of its quirks and features. Before we get started, are you ready for your next cool car? Sell your enthusiast car on Cars and Bids. Trading in your car to dealers means you aren't getting market value for your car, leaving you with less cash for your next fun car. Just look at our recent sales of these cool cars compared to current trade-in value. This is a trade-in offer, and this was the Cars and Bids result. This is a trade-in offer, and this was the Cars and Bids result. This is the trade-in offer, and this is the Cars and Bids result. Get started now on carsandbids.com. Sell on Cars and Bids and join the best community to sell your enthusiast car. All right, time for the quirks and features of the Maybach S680. Now, the Maybach S-Class is the top-of-the-line, ultra-luxury version of the S-Class, which is already a pretty nice luxury car. But this is the top of the top with V12 power intended to compete with Bentley and Rolls-Royce. Now, I've already reviewed the latest Maybach S680, this car, but this particular example comes to me from Manufaktur, which is Mercedes-Benz personalization division intended to show off what it can do, how they can customize your car with special options. So, for the quirks and features, let's start with all of the options, beginning with this color, which is called Copper Orange Magno. It costs $9,900 extra. Obviously, most people probably won't opt for this particular shade, but it does give you an idea of what you can do with personalization in this car. And then there's the interior. This fine, high-quality Napa leather, very beautiful, very supple and smooth. It costs $11,250 extra on top of the boring regular leather. And then you have the wood trim, this sort of flat, natural grain wood trim with aluminum lines in between. This isn't just like some random metal, it is specifically aluminum, and it costs an extra $3,200 for this beautiful wood complementing your Napa leather. So just for the leather and wood, you're spending 15 grand, and it gets better. In back, you can see this car has the executive rear seating package, which basically means 2 seats back here and all the comforts you could want. I'll go through them in a minute, but for now, know that this package adds $6,000 to the purchase price of this car. And then there's the champagne flutes. You're sitting in back, you want to enjoy some champagne. This car comes with silver-plated champagne flutes that cost $3,200 extra. Now you're wondering, why am I not showing the champagne flutes? Well, when Mercedes-Benz loans this car out to journalists, they don't include the champagne flutes because they don't trust us with them, which probably makes sense, to be honest. However, it's a shame because the wheels are specifically designed to match the champagne flutes. Of course, that is an extra option. It costs $1,300 for these wheels matching champagne flute design, but unfortunately we cannot compare the champagne flutes to the wheels because we don't have the $3,200 champagne flutes. Now, that's just a smattering of some of the many crazy options in this car. I was looking at the window sticker and I did come across one that was surprisingly reasonable, and that is the Maybach rear cushions in matching Napa leather. We call those pillows. They cost only $300 for the pair of rear pillows, which honestly doesn't seem like all that much money when you're comparing it to a $10,000 color or a $6,000 rear seating package. $300 for a pair of pillows? It's reasonable, and as a result, they leave those in the car for the journalists, because even if we steal them, what's $300 for some Maybach cushions? But anyway, that gives you a taste of some of the Manufaktur options you can have with this car. Let's go through the rest of the quirks and features, starting in the back seat, because that's where the fun is. Like I said, the executive rear seating package gives you 2 individual seats, as you can see, and a large center console full of goodies. We begin with the seats, the fine Napa leather, of course, and the Maybach cushions, aka pillows, but there's much more. You also have a Maybach branded pillow on the headrest that you can perfectly move around and place exactly where you want for maximum head comfort. You also have heating, ventilating, and massage for these rear seats, and most importantly, you can fully recline. The seat on the passenger side, you press this recline button on the door panel, and the seat will fully recline, almost lie flat, pushing the front passenger seat completely out of the way so that the rear passenger can maximize their space and maximize their comfort lying down. There's even this leg rest that comes out from the seat and a foot rest that comes out from the back of the front seat to allow you maximum comfort while you're lying down, reclining in the back of your Maybach. It is a pretty trick seating situation here. And then there's all the cool stuff. Like, for example, the doors. They are big, they open wide. You, as a wealthy person being chauffeured in your Maybach, do not wish to close them. Thankfully, you have a switch mounted on the ceiling. You pull on the switch and the door closes automatically. You don't have to do anything. No exertion of any sort of effort to close the door. And speaking of things that are automatic in this car, the center console lid isn't just one of those that you push and it rolls forward. Instead, you press a button and it automatically opens up ever so gently to reveal what's inside, which is climate controls for the rear seats, as you can see. You also have cup holders back here, heated and cooled cup holders that change color depending on which setting you're using, and you have these little other cup holders. Those are actually there to hold the champagne flutes. The way this works is the little silver clamps around the edges actually clamp to the base of the champagne flute, and that keeps it from rolling around or falling over even while you're driving around, so the champagne flute stays perfectly still because of this design. You also, in this car, have a seat belt delivery system. You don't want to reach all the way behind you to get the seat belt. Instead, when you open the door and sit down, it automatically is sent out to you on this electronic pedestal so you can easier reach the seat belt and then put it on. And then when you're done, it automatically goes back into place so it doesn't disturb you. It's only there when you need it. And there's more. This car comes with tray tables. So you open up this center console and you can pop out this tray table. It sort of swivels around and opens up so that you can use it for a laptop or for having a snack, a lunch, whatever you want, sitting in back, both sides, rear tray tables in this car. And then there's the refrigerator. In between the seats, between the backrests, you can see this panel of flat wood with aluminum lines. And if you open it up, you can see that's where the refrigerator is located. And you have these little slots here. That's where the champagne flutes would be if they let us keep them, but they do not. Your rear seat refrigerator with your cooled drinks right next to the seat for your maximum comfort. And then you have the screens. As you can see, an individual screen mounted on the back of each front seat, so both rear passengers have their own screen situation. And this is basically just a mirror of the infotainment system in the car. You can use it to set a navigation destination, check on the settings, the ambient light color, the stereo, all that stuff back here. Plus, there are a few apps where you can watch stuff like YouTube or other watching things if you want to do that from the back seat, which is pretty nice. And when you want to watch, this car comes with headphones. You can see they're in this lovely, luxurious little cloth pouch. Open them up and they are Mercedes-Benz branded headphones with the Mercedes logo on it. So you don't have to have some second-rate headphone. You know you're getting the very best. However, if the screens in the backs of the front seats are simply too far for you to reach while you're in your comfort recline, you also have a screen here in the middle directly at your fingertips, much closer closer. Same basic screen situation, has basically the same controls, it's just closer to your fingertips. And if that's not convenient enough, you can press this eject button, the screen will pop out, and then you can hold it. It is a handheld infotainment system, so you don't have to go to the trouble of leaning forward to touch the screens in front of you. And there are still more quirks back here worth discussing. Open up this center console area where the tray tables are, and you will also notice a wide array of power ports back here, so you can charge basically any device. And there's also a wireless charger here. You can see it is covered with Mercedes-Benz star emblems, a wireless charger for the rear seats you don't often see, but you see it here. This car also has sunshades for the rear windows. If you pull up on the rear power window switch when the window's already up, it will send up the sunshade. And the cool part here is that the sunshade not only covers the window, but it even covers this tiny little triangle window next to your head if you're lying back in the seat, just to maximize your sunshadedness sitting in the back. They've thought of everything, and this back seat is truly an opulent, special experience, an amazing place to be in the Maybach S-Class. And then we get up front, which is also a very special experience. Now, I've reviewed quite a few new S-Class models and other new Mercedes. I'm not going to go through every little quirk up here, but I will discuss the stuff that makes this car special, starting again with the seats. You see the Nappa leather, but you also have the headrest pillows. Just like you have in back, you have them up front, the Maybach logo imprinted on them, and you can position the pillow to your exact spot to make sure you're in the ultimate head comfort. Of course, like I mentioned, the finishes up here, very nice, this natural wood, the aluminum lines, and to celebrate all that, you have the Manufaktur logo script right in the center of the interior, just reminding you this isn't some regular Maybach S-Class. This one's been customized by Manufaktur. Now, also in this vicinity, you have the infotainment system, which is largely the same as other S-Class models. Same deal with the gauge cluster screen, and that is to say, excellent. One of the best infotainment gauge cluster combinations in the car biz. I'm not going to go through every little detail because that's not really important. You can watch my other S-Class reviews, but I will discuss the comfort doors feature. In the infotainment system, there's something that says comfort doors. You tap on it, and from the infotainment screen, you can open and close the rear doors. To open, you slide your finger and you have to hold it in place while the door is opening to kind of confirm that you really want the door to open, so you don't just tap it and then the door opens and hits something. You have to really have your hand on it to make sure that's what you want. You can also close the doors from here. As you can see, you slide the other way and the door closes. Both sides in the back, the comfort doors can be operated from up front, which is the best in chauffeur technology. The other interesting thing in this car is that the ambient lighting isn't just like a pipe of light like it is in so many other cars, but instead it's actually a screen. You can see on the dashboard there's like a light screen here. Rather than just a simple strip of lighting, it's almost a screen that goes across the entire interior, and it has some interesting functions. For instance, when you increase the temperature, you make it warmer inside, a little strip of red light kind of shoots across the interior, sort of going the whole way down the ambient lighting screen, down the dashboard and the doors, all the way across, which is interesting. And of course, the same thing happens when you make it cooler with a little blue piece of light going all the way down the car. Kind of cool. You can also adjust this ambient lighting setting so that it sort of dances while you're driving along. You can see the lighting isn't just fixed in place, it's kind of moving because that's what I've set it to, and it sort of adds to an interesting ambiance, more so than just a regular light strip in this interior. And next we move under the hood where all the horses live. This is a twin-turbo V12 with about 620 horsepower and about 665 pound-feet of torque. Absolutely massive figures. This is the same twin-turbo 6-liter V12 Mercedes-Benz has offered for about 20 years now, a tried-and-true, wonderful powertrain that seems to have endless torque and power. And you can see the big V12 badge on the engine cover, both sides, plus the Maybach logo in the front. This is a massive engine that certainly means business. It sends this car, this huge car, from 0 to 60 in just 4.1 seconds. Amazing, given this car's size. And these come standard with all-wheel drive. Now, it's worth pointing out that there is a base model Mercedes Mercedes-Maybach S-Class. It's called the S580, and it comes with a V8. It starts around $205,000 compared to this, which starts around $240,000, but truthfully, who would want that? You're gonna go Maybach, you're gonna go big, and you ought to get the V12, which this car has. As for the trunk, well, pop it open. It's a fairly normal situation, a pretty normal trunk with the exception of, well, the giant thing inside of it. That is, of course, the refrigerator, which I showed you in the back seat. If you want to have a refrigerator, you got to deal with the consequences. And in this case, the consequences are it stretches out into the trunk and steals some of your trunk space. Now, the benefit here is that there's a handle on it, and if you pull on that handle, you can actually unclasp the refrigerator and remove it from the trunk. If you really do need the trunk space temporarily, you could take the refrigerator out and leave it behind somewhere, but most of the time you're probably going to want to leave it in since most people aren't carrying large volumes of cargo in their Maybach S-Class. If you are, however, you can also lift up the trunk floor. You can see there's extra cargo storage space under here, and you have a little storage compartment over on the side behind this netting where you can store a little extra stuff. Mostly though, this is just a regular S-Class trunk aside from the refrigerator, and that means decent sizing, and you do get this power port. Unfortunately, it is a cigarette lighter style port, not a household, which would be nice, but it's still nice to have that in the trunk, and that's your S680 cargo experience. More importantly is how it drives. Big ol' V12, massive orange sedan. What's it like behind the wheel? Let's go find out. All right, driving the S680 Maybach. This is such a comfortable, luxurious, opulent, wonderful driving experience. Let me adjust my pillow, my Maybach cushion, if you will. Oh, this car is just so nice. I reviewed about a year ago, maybe 8 months ago, this car kind of when it was coming out. And they said to me, hey, do you want, we got this Manufaktur one in bright orange. You want to try that? And I'm like, yeah. Obviously very similar car, but the interior is just, I mean, the leather and the wood with the aluminum, it's just, this is such a nice place to be. And for only $280,000. You know, I joke about that, but the truth is, compared to rivals, this is a pretty well-priced car. When you look at the Bentley Flying Spur and when you look at like the Rolls-Royce Ghost, this is a pretty cheap alternative. Flying Spurs are at least 50 grand more. Rolls-Royce Ghost is even more expensive than that. This car delivers all of that stuff, including V12 power and that amazing rear seat situation. It delivers basically all of that stuff for a lot less money. Now, the drawback is, you know, a Bentley and a Rolls-Royce are like individually created vehicles. This is an S-Class that has been sort of goosed up, if you will, to make it be nicer. But it is nicer. And an S-Class is already a wonderful car, and this just drives like a dream. The V12 is one of my favorite powertrains, this V12. It is just absolutely wonderful. It has torque and power at all RPMs. It is absolutely ready to just completely go wild if you want, but it also manages to be incredibly smooth and quiet and soft. And there's not a lot of great engines that can do that. It's actually one of the reasons why I felt that this powertrain doesn't really work all that well in the Pagani Huayra, which also uses it. This powertrain is best suited for a car like this. High-speed cruising, acceleration on the freeway when you're already going fast, but without much drama. This is not a drama powertrain. It is just a powertrain that gives and delivers power and torque in just the most wonderful, smooth, relaxed, effortless way. And I just think that's fantastic about this car. Obviously, in terms of steering and handling, it's not exactly the sharpest car around. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't steer that quickly, etc. It's quicker than I would expect, and it's quicker than a Rolls Ghost, but it nonetheless doesn't feel particular. I mean, it's not a sports car. Like, ultimately, in order to create a vehicle like this, you have to give it thousands of pounds of leather and wood and screens, and you have to soften up the suspension to the point where, you know, it can be a relaxing kind of puffy cloud style ride. And in doing that, you create not a sports car. And so the handling is secure. It feels very nice, very predictable. But this car does not hustle in any stretch of the imagination, except when you're flooring it. And even then, despite 0 to 60 times that are very sports car-like, it doesn't feel like it's hustling. It's just not what this car does. Kenan, one point, I asked Kenan to run somewhere, and Kenan told me he doesn't run, he hastens. And that is exactly what this car is like. The experience inside here, though, is really quite impressive. It is very quiet, very serene, very comfortable, in a pretty impressive way. You know, I think a lot of potential buyers will discount this car because it's only an S-Class and not like a bespoke Rolls-Royce Ghost type vehicle. But Mercedes-Benz with this car has really managed to create a incredibly luxurious experience out of the very luxurious S-Class. They've taken it and made it even more refined and relaxed. You hear basically nothing going on outside. You don't feel, I mean, you really feel like you're in one of the highest end, most luxury vehicles that can exist, which I guess is true you are. You're certainly not on the very craziest level, but you almost don't need to be. Like, it's fine. It feels luxurious enough. Overall, I mean, there's a lot to love about this car. It is just nice. It is just so quiet and makes you feel so serene. You can just completely relax in here. And obviously, from an enthusiast perspective, I mean, the crazy thing about this car is all of its opulence and its rarity and its V12. It is not really an enthusiast driver's car, but it is certainly noteworthy, even for an enthusiast, just because of how over-the-top ridiculous it is and how special it is that you still have a V12 in the modern era. Very special, very cool, and just so luxurious. Even though technically it's not on the level of Bentley or Rolls-Royce on paper, to me it certainly is in practice. And so that's the 2025 Mercedes-Maybach S680, the Manufaktur version, where they've just gone crazy with basically all of the opulent extras they could find. This is an impressive car, really is, and now it's time to give it a DougScore. And the DougScore is here, 68 out of 100, which puts the Maybach S680 Manufaktur here against rivals. It scores exactly the same as the regular Maybach S680, which makes sense. This is a bit more exciting and special, and also a bit more expensive, but not enough to add or lose a full point in any category. Regardless, this remains a truly impressive luxury vehicle, though it does trail the latest from Rolls-Royce and Bentley, owing in part to its humbler S-Class origins.